So, Carl, talk about the new reporting you have about what Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer may be doing behind the scenes.
Well, first, to say that he's frustrated with Biden might oversimplify things. He's frustrated with the whole situation, especially the way the White House, the way Biden, the way the First Family has dug in and has said that there's no more discussion of this. That's the frustration. And Schumer is hearing from every quarter, from donors, from members of the Senate, from members of the House, that he, as a leader of the party, has got to do something to see that there is an orderly process in which the best candidate who could best defeat and face Donald Trump becomes the nominee. And there's grave doubt that that person is Joe Biden. Grave doubt among senators of the Democratic Party, grave doubt among members of the House of the Democratic Party, among donors, and certainly we don't know to a T what Schumer's doubts are. He's very careful in this master class, as you called it, of being a little bit evasive in language, the way Speaker Pelosi was also there. But he's frustrated, and he's feeling the anger, and he's voiced some of the anger to people he's been talking to. And the fact that he, the leadership of the House and the Senate, the party itself, the donors, everybody is left a little hanging here, except for Joe Biden, who says, I'm the nominee, I'm running, and at the same time, it is the greatest secret in the world that has been unsecretized that there is huge movement against Joe Biden running in the party right now, and that includes among the senators that Schumer is talking to and the House members. And so you have an unprecedented situation here that Schumer is trying to keep from breaking open in a way that there is intra-party warfare. And his solution, which he thought he had a real shot at doing over the weekend, was to convene a meeting, probably today or yesterday, of 3 or 4 people who love Joe Biden in the Senate, in the House, among his friends, meet with Biden, not ambush him, but have a full discussion with Biden, maybe including Nancy Pelosi, about the repercussions of his decision that he is running and case closed. He still wants to do that, Schumer does, and is intent on having such a discussion.
So is it clear if that is in fact, I mean, is that something that the White House has agreed to? Do you know?
Nothing is clear, and certainly we know of no agreement by the White House. To the contrary, so far the White House the candidate, Joe Biden, has said, well, I've talked to these people. I've talked to people on the Hill. They want me to run. So there still is no modus operandi to make this happen. And at the same time, Speaker Pelosi, as we saw today, Senator Schumer, others are determined that somehow there has to be a discussion in which all of these factors can be aired out in a way among old friends. But look, the prevailing feeling among members of the Democratic members of the House and Senate is that Joe Biden is a weak candidate against Donald Trump after that debate, and that situation has not changed. And Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi know that better than anybody, and they're trying to see, is there some other way forward? It's very subtle. It doesn't lend itself to easy characterizations and headlines.
So, full stop. Yeah. Is it clear whether Senator Schumer believes a Biden candidacy could still be victorious in November?
I have never heard him say one way or the other, and I doubt that he would catch himself uttering such a thing.
All right, Carl, stay with us. I want to bring in former Clinton White House Press Secretary Joe Lockhart, CNN political commentator, and former Biden White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield, also former Obama speechwriter John Lovett, co-host of the Pod Save America podcast. Kate, first of all, what's your reaction to this reporting from Carl?
Well, I think the Biden team has a problem on their hands. I mean, I think they thought that they had the Hill under control. It seems like, that's not the case. Obviously, we heard Speaker Pelosi giving sort of leeway this morning, saying, let him get through NATO, and then basically putting the conversation back on the table for Friday. I think one of the things the Biden team, I think, needs to do is to be a little more forward leaning about putting their case on the table. Put some data on the table that shows the path forward. I personally, looking at the publicly available data, don't think that this race isn't winnable for Joe Biden. I think it is winnable for him. I think enough of his voters are sticking with him, even as you see some movement in the polls. I don't deny that. But I don't think the race is out of his grasp. I do think that his campaign team needs to do a more aggressive job of showing people the path and showing them that they believe that he can win. I feel like there's been sort of a defensive crouch over the last couple of days. And I think that some of this intensity and fire that's been aimed at Hill Democrats who are raising these questions needs to be rechanneled. The anger and the frustration is there because people are afraid of a second Donald Trump presidency, because Donald Trump is somebody who went out this week and said again that he was proud that he overturned Roe versus Wade. So it's a real fear, and that's where the anger is coming from. And I think that the campaign would be better served by channeling that anger and saying, we also want to beat Donald Trump. Here's how we do it. Come get on board. And then turning this fire that's been turned at the Hill toward Donald Trump.
Joe, I mean, does tonight feel different than last night? I mean, all the rumblings on Capitol Hill, Nancy Pelosi on TV this morning, the George Clooney thing, not that he's, a leader of anything, but, clearly there's a lot of donors who are very upset and very concerned.
I don't think it changes much from last night to tonight. I don't think George Clooney, although I think he is a player in the party, I don't think he's a leader in the party. This comes down to, I think, the leadership in the House and the Senate. And I think the reason Chuck Schumer is frustrated is because it's put his members who are running for re-election in a very difficult spot. If they stick with Biden, where they have misgivings of how the strength of his candidacy, Biden might drag them down. They don't know that. But if they split with Biden, there are still large swaths of the Democratic base that are fully behind Joe Biden. And alienating that group makes it kind of a no-win situation. I think the two important things that have happened in the last 2 weeks, one is what's happened. Joe Biden has said he's getting in the race. He's put all these people in this position, but he's done it for a political reason because he wants to be in the race. He thinks he can win. The second is what's not happened, which is you have not seen private go to public. You've seen a few members here and there, but the vast majority, 96, 97% of Democrats have either held their powder or come out in support of the president. So the frustration, I think, is political, and this decision at the end of the day will be about the politics of the situation and how the politics impact each and every one of these members.
John, you posted online, you said, quote, Joe Biden can leave office as one of the greatest presidents in our lifetimes who defeated Trump and put his country first at every turn, or he can leave a stubborn old man who allowed hubris and insecurity to destroy his legacy and perhaps our democracy with it. Do you think he or his inner circle will ever be receptive to that argument?
I think Joe Biden has seen a lot, has defied a lot of low expectations, has been through a lot, and is not subject to ordinary political pressure, to his great credit. And it speaks to actually the extraordinary success of his administration, that he knew when to defy critics, ignore pundits, reject conventional wisdom, and allow himself to be underestimated while then achieving unexpected successes. That said, I do think what you hear with people like Tim Kaine, what you see with Peter Welch, what you see with Nancy Pelosi is Joe Biden won't be pushed, but maybe he'll be pulled. Because, Joe made a really good point about what we're not seeing. There's another thing we're not seeing, which is the full-throated, full-hearted, aggressive, and energetic campaign that people who want Joe Biden to succeed expected he would pursue in the days after the debate. He has done an interview with George Stephanopoulos. He's done radio interviews. He's done some events. He talked to Mika and Joe, right? But the first press conference he is going to do is 2 weeks after the debate. And so we end up in the worst of both worlds. He is not addressing the underlying concerns, but he is addressing the political concerns of his members by applying political pressure and trying to circle the wagons. The problem is that doesn't address the underlying political reality, which is the vast majority of people are worried Joe Biden is too old. And you start to see it in polling, which I do think explains why you're starting to see a reaction from some of these members. Cook Political Report says Arizona goes from toss up to lean R,
Yeah.
Georgia to lean R, Minnesota to lean D, right down the line, right? That is the political reality underneath all of that. Political pressure might get Jerry Nadler to go to the microphones and try to unslice the bagel, but it doesn't change what's actually happening on the ground, which is what is driving this concerns. It's not elites, it's coming from voters.